Hey guys, we're back. Phil's having a little laughing fit. So yesterday you guys heard Phil's wonderful fantasy story.
That was a good episode. Said a guy listening to the Chatmen. That's what Truman thought I was going with my last line, and that made me laugh. So that's why I was in a laughing fit.
Well, so if you guys want to listen to part one of this episode where Phil tells his story, there'll be an annotation on the screen. You can just click it whenever you want. It'll go to part one. Now, we're in part two now, which means that Phil doesn't have a story anymore because it's my turn.
It's Truman's turn.
And you know what? Whenever I said, boy, I'm going to write a science fiction story, you know what I did? I wrote a goddamn science fiction story. I didn't mess around with any, cross-genre stuff. So
I'm sorry. I mean, I write science fantasy as it is, and now I did fantasy science. Just any of you questioning listeners out there,
yeah,
shut your mouths. So, I did the best I could. I'm not in
great.
tune. I'm not in tune with this Skyrim nonsense or Game of Thrones. More like Game of phony. I don't give a crap. Let's listen to your story.
More like
it's
Game
science
of
fiction.
Loans because you have to spend so much money to buy them because they're like $50 box sets.
And you can't even see them on Netflix. So I mean, like, if I'm not gonna be able to, watch it,
Gotta rent that stuff.
Gotta be angry about it and
HBO.
just hate it instead.
Wow, this is a brilliant spiraling out of control at the start of this episode.
Hey Truman, let's listen to your story.
Okay, my story.
This episode of the Chatmen is brought to you by more Microsoft Word, because Truman wrote his on Microsoft Word as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Bill Gates.
You did great, Bill Gates. Your name should be Bill Greats. So my story's got a very simple title. It's just called Typical.
Oh.
Typical.
Oh, that's just... Oh.
Alright. What do you mean my flight is delayed? Alec's arms ached with the weight of his luggage. He was regretting the choice to wear his favorite leather jacket. It was a bit too warm in this line of people. I'm sorry, Mr. Campbell. The stewardess's ghoul, that's Galactic Unified Language for those who aren't in the know. The stewardess's ghoul was a bit broken, and Alec was struggling to understand what she was saying. The vessel was leaking fusion coolant, and we had to lock it in the port for maintenance. So what? You just want me to sit around until you tell me I can board? Alec was being a little bit of a jerk, but rightly so. He only made the trip to Homeworld once every 3 years, and this wasn't the first time he had had a flight delayed.
Oh.
At least he didn't seem as upset and worried as the tall, skinny guy behind him in line. Once again, we apologize for the inconvenience, sir. Do you have your collar? There was a small pause as Alec looked the stewardess directly into all of her eyes.
Oh, wow.
With a forced sigh, he threw a piece of his luggage onto the counter in order to gain a free hand. Without breaking eye contact, he fished around in his pants pocket until he produced a small silver device. Please take these free meal vouchers. They are redeemable at the food court on level 7 of Wing G, one of our fine convenience wings.
That's some really good accent.
She can speak the language. It's just she struggles.
I gotcha.
The stewardess scanned Alec's collar and loaded the voucher information. We foresee the maintenance on your transport taking several cycles to complete. Your collar should alert you when it is time to board. She smiled at Alec. Well, at least it was as close to a smile as a squillnax could produce. Several cycles? How many is several? 3, sir. Thank you.
So three is what several means?
Yeah, several cycles.
Oh, okay. So several's not just a just a number.
Well,
It
she
means
was just
3?
saying several to be like, sir, it's going to take a while. And he's like, no, I need to know how long. She's like, it's going to be 3 cycles, sir.
I feel like several would be like...
Be patient.
Okay.
I don't know what type of time scale a cycle is, but it's not very short.
Feel like several means more than 3, or like 5 for that matter. Anyway, go on.
The stewardess... Okay, Alec could tell this discussion was over. The stewardess yelling, "Next!" was a more definite clue. Grumbling, Alec took his bag off the counter and shuffled away. 3 cycles? That's ridiculous, he mumbled to himself. He scanned the station, but couldn't see any other homeworlders. The atrium was packed with alien beings. Typical.
Oh.
God, I hate traveling. Eventually, Alec found a free spot to sit down and wait. Lucky for him, it was in a less crowded corner of the building, but unluckily, it was a seat between 2 mountainous Quilus.
Ah, Quilus, man.
Their gelatinous bodies were slowly encroaching on Alec's personal space, but it was better than sitting on the floor. He set one bag in his lap, and the other he slid behind his legs. On the armrest, there was a small indentation that looked like it would fit his collar. He pulled it from his pocket and connected it to the little terminal. A small holographic screen floated up from the little metal device.
Water.
It's true. Tapping his temple, Alec turned on his inner ear hearing device. He wasn't really a fan of using it, but it was the only way to hear the message being played on the collar's hologram array. A hologram. By the time Alec got the volume turned up, the station's introductory message had already started playing. To the Loven Stellar Port! Loven Prime Stellar Port. It's hard to start a sentence right in the middle.
Yeah.
We have a full range of amenities to make even the grumpiest Groglar smile.
Oh, Growlar. Those guys.
Yeah, the Groglars. They are, notorious for being just grumpy all the time. The audio was paired with a happy white font. Alec wasn't a fan. How can we assist you? Media, Alec croaked half-heartedly. You might as well find something to pass the time. Several thumbnails displayed on the holographic screen. There were 148,000 media stations in the galaxy, and yet the spaceport only had this horrible selection. What a shame. Grudgingly, he selected an episode of Shep's Belt and sunk back into his chair. Before too long, Alex's senses were dulled enough for him to fall asleep. There was a loud crashing sound that erupted from the other end of the room. A lanky, bug-looking individual shoved his way through luggage and passengers. 2 bulky security officers were chasing him through the crowds. Jarred awake from his nap, Alec wished that all the ruckus would stop. The spaceport was loud enough without this kind of commotion happening. Although he couldn't quite make out his face, Alec felt like that was the impatient guy behind him earlier in line. Alec paid no mind to the goings-on in the spaceport and once again turned back to his collar. He had been asleep long enough that it had gone into hibernate mode. He was met with a new message when he booted it back up. Attention guests! Be on the lookout for fugitive Sigma Draconis. A fully rendered head of the culprit appeared on the screen. Alec couldn't help but notice that this individual was in fact the one who was making all that ruckus earlier. The message continued its broadcast while Alec pondered his next step. Guests, please be aware that the assailant may be armed and dangerous. Well, guests better use these meal vouchers. Alex said as he undocked his collar from the armrest. He stood and paused for a moment to consider whether or not he should throw his coat into his luggage. Nah, it didn't seem as warm as it did earlier. Without a sense of urgency, Alec walked away from the 2 Quilus he had been sitting in between. Lines. There are always lines in Alec's life. This line was particularly long because it led to the interstation transporters. Even though he knew there was no rush to get anywhere quickly, Alex refused to stand in another line today. He bypassed the group of entities and headed to the convenience wing on foot, like some sort of pre-calamity plebeian.
Those are some words.
Yeah, pre-calamity, so before the calamity.
No, I mean, those are some good words.
Okay. Yeah, using this college vocabulary, I learned.
You learned that from college?
I know what a plebeian is.
From college?
Yes.
Oh.
Anyway, fluorescent lighting radiated Alex's body in a painfully blue light as he strolled through the spaceport. The halls that connect the different wings of Loven Prime were surprisingly empty. For once in a long time, Alec could walk at his own speed without worrying about colliding with other travelers. His ever-shrinking bubble of personal space finally had room to breathe.
Oh.
The connecting halls had huge, reinforced windows that displayed the endless space that surrounded everyone in the building. Alec paused to absorb the magnitude of the expanding universe before his eyes. The black void scared him, while also providing him with a small feeling of content happiness. The sight of a small kiosk broke Alex's moment of peace. It had begun playing an annoyingly jaunty electric tune. A small hologram was flashing the word INFO in neon reds and blues. Alec found that the use of 2 exclamation points to be the most garish part of the whole thing. I actually typed it with 2 exclamation points, too.
That's good.
Yeah. Why 2? He said under his breath. 1 would have been more than enough. As he walked towards the kiosk, he checked his watch. Realizing he still had plenty of time before he would need to board his transport, he sighed. He plugged his collar into the kiosk to see what it had to say. Loven Prime Information Kiosk, serial number 82F06. How can we be of assistance? The hologram now switched to a table of contents. Since he was only messing around with a stupid machine out of boredom, Alec just stood there holding his luggage. Shoulders slouched and legs limped, he surveyed the list of options. Felt like he was standing at a vending machine full of snack cakes he didn't particularly care for. Without any care, Alex selected the history option on the display. Nearly 200 years ago, Glibblon Biggleblotter, entrepreneur extraordinaire and business genius, spent half of his immense fortune to build the Loven Prime spaceport.
Whoa!
Originally orbiting Biggleblatter's home planet of Loven 8.
That's pretty fancy.
Alec already felt that this kiosk was being overly pompous, and the images the spaceport's marketing team decided to display along with the dialogue was overly enthusiastic. Soon to become a hotspot of travel and entertainment, the spaceport saw many a traveler in its heyday, boasting exotic pan-galactic cuisine and 6-star entertainment. Biggleblotter spared no expense when building the immaculate satellite. Alec noticed a small button at the bottom of the display that said, Fast Forward. He pressed the button without hesitation.
Yeah.
The recording resumed. All changed after the calamity. With its entire staff aboard, Biggleblotter piloted the spaceport away from the smoldering remains of Loven 8. It drifted in space until they were able to contact the Galactic Union. The Union decided that destroying such a beautiful spaceport would be a waste, so they placed it near the Kleiner Belt to remain a destination for travelers. Need a drink.
Yep.
A flash of light distracted Alec. Now looking back out the window, he watched a fiery ball erupting from one of the distant wings of the spaceport.
Oh no.
All the lights in the corridor changed from to a flashing red color. Somewhere distant in the spaceport was the sound of some kind of alarm. The kiosk's history lesson was changed to a flashing warning sign. There was also an overly calm audio message being played. Attention guests, Hall breach in Sector K. Hall breach in Sector K.
Oh,
Airlock
no.
initiated in Relaxation Wing K. If you are in need of assistance, security officers and droids will be more than happy to help you. Fugitive Sigma Draconis has now been declared an Epsilon-level threat. Security forces are now reporting that he is, in fact, armed with a high-caliber laser. Alec was very happy he wasn't in Sector K.
Yep.
He was also intrigued with the events unfolding outside the spaceport. The fiery ball had dissipated, but had been replaced with laser fire. 2 security officers were piloting jetpacks, chasing the rogue gunman.
First of all, real quick.
Yeah.
Fireball in space?
Yeah.
Impossible.
Well, there's a bunch of oxygen in.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
It blew out in a big, and then it's all gone.
Okay.
So I'd say it was gone, but there's still, like, lasers flying all over the place.
All right.
Yeah, I thought about this.
Right.
I know science. Not really, but... where was I?
Neither do I. Too much. I'm interested, though.
Alex stood in the windowed corridor for roughly 2 minutes, watching the mini battle. He noticed a small squadron of repair droids mending the hole in Sector K. Within a few minutes, the alarms had all been silenced, and the lights had returned to their normal, piercing blue tint. But by that time, Alec and his luggage had moved along. Why don't they ever have any normal food at these places? Alec pondered as he stood in his appointed concession wing. Eating in public had always bothered Alec, but it didn't bother him as much as watching large masses of intergalactic beings shoveling food into their respective mouths and other food holes.
Ooh. Anglicans, guys. I mean, aliens. They're crazy stuff. They could be anything.
Surveying the room, he was surprised at how large of a selection of food there wasn't. Looks like we've got a Varuma Express over there, but I'm not really in the mood for a Acacia burger. The purple meat in the Varuma displays didn't look appetizing at all.
Ugh.
I would go to Shoga Rinzler's, but I've eaten it way too much in the last GU month. It's GU month, that's a Galactic Unified month.
Oh.
Just to let you know.
So goom.
A goom. I didn't want to just write goom.
Okay. Gum.
A gum. There are about a dozen restaurants, but those two were the only ones that Alec had ever been to. Even though he had studied a couple languages in school, the signs were all foreign to him. The scribbling could mean anything to Alec, but he was pretty sure that they were all annoyingly advertising some sort of food. There was an especially long line at a certain restaurant, so Alec thought he would at least see what everybody was so obsessed with. I need a drink.
I was about to say, when that fireball happened in space, I was like, what is this? What is this, Star Wars?
Yeah.
What is this? Aww.
Talk about science fiction fantasy.
Yeah, I want to talk about fantasy. Go check out yourself Star Wars episodes.
All of them.
No. 4 through 6. That's it. The originals. And then J.J. Abrams coming out.
We've had this discussion.
May 15th, 2015. Go on with your story.
Okay. So there was a long line at this restaurant. Now Alex wants to know what everybody's...
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's going crazy.
From his place in line, Alec tried to make out what the signs were saying. The writing was kind of similar to that of Fari. That's how I pronounced it. Yeah, Fari. So he thought he could work it out. While the line slowly moved forward, Alec pondered and studied. Powdered meat drink? He said aloud to no one in particular. Or maybe frozen slime paste? I guess I'll just find out when I get to the front of the line. Content with his educated guess, Alec waited patiently in the line. Now standing at the front, Alec looked at the vat of stuff in front of him. Could be either one. Maybe both. He stood dumbfounded. How is this food? He questioned. If I found this stuff in my fridge, I'd probably just set the whole apartment on fire. He finally made eye contact with the server behind the counter. The server didn't look like a Fari at all. He looked like a lanky bug man. Act natural, the server said in his chattering, clicking ghoul. Sure, Alex stared, confused. He felt the cogs in his brain slowly turn. Act natural, guy! The server's shifting eyes motioned to something or someone behind Alec. I'm sorry, Do I know you from somewhere? Alec asked. This whole situation was just doing his head right in. It was right there on the tip of his tongue. If the impatient server would just give him a minute. He swiftly gave up. Never mind, I can't seem to figure it out.
I think I know.
Alec let out a little sigh. Just look forward and don't act suspicious. The server was nervous about something. But Alec didn't really care. He once again surveyed the vat of gunk. I mean, how is this stuff? Does it taste any good? I don't know, man. Hey, listen, you did great. So the server took off his apron and little hat. He tossed his ladle into the vat. Did a rhyme there, and I didn't even realize it.
Whoa!
The goopy mess slowly engulfed the piece of cutlery. If anyone asks, you never saw me here, okay? Saw who? Alec looked back up from the food. He was only half listening at this point. What was the stuff in this vat? Great, called the server as he bolted over the counter and sprinted into the crowd. Within seconds, Alec had lost sight of the man in the masses of life forms.
I knew it.
You knew it?
I knew it.
Okay.
You're going.
Sitting at a table, surprisingly alone, Alex slowly ate his Shoga Renzler variety platter. It wasn't as good as the ones he had eaten 3 days ago, but at least it was free. Those meal vouchers were the first positive thing the spaceport had done for him. I mean, I did have to buy my own drink, he thought. At least they had Jalp Cola instead of that inferior Malco garbage.
Oh.
Yeah. You know what? Fuck Malco Cola. It sucks.
Oh. How was that? How does that match up to the other one?
What do you mean?
Never
Well,
mind.
I mean, one just like hurts your teeth and you drink it, and the other one's just really pleasant and you love drinking it. Sometimes
right.
there's a cherry variety. It's
That's right.
way better.
Sponsored in part by
Jalp Sola.
All right.
Halfway through his meal, Alec pulled his collar out of his pocket and set it on the table. He loaded up that episode of Shep's Belt he had fallen asleep to earlier.
Wait, hold on. Jep's Belt is that?
Shep's Belt is a television show, yeah.
Okay.
S''JEPP.
Okay, cool.
I don't know what kind of show it is.
All right.
It sounds like a soap opera, but whatever.
All right.
He blocked out the commotion of the other guests all slurping down their food. But the sound of security officers calling, "He went that way!" was loud enough for him to hear over everything else. He paid it no mind. With a full stomach, Alec left the concession wing. He hadn't made it too far down the exit corridor when his collar began buzzing. He stopped in the hall and placed one of his bags on the ground. With his newly freed hand, he dug into his pocket and produced the small silver device. Holding it flat in his palm, a small holographic message was displayed in the air. Passengers for flight 77H/L208 may begin boarding. Please make your way to the nearest transporter. About time, remarked Alec as he thrust the collar back into his pocket. He quickly grabbed his bag off the ground and began walking down the hall. His stride was a bit faster than it had been all day, but he wasn't running. They had kept him waiting this long, so they could wait a few more moments for him to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, he had avoided the transporters because of the long lines, but, in truth, he had avoided them for another reason entirely. Alec hated the idea of transporters. The idea that he was going to be broken down in energy and shot through the air to somewhere else made Alec sick to his stomach. It wasn't that he had never used one before, he just avoided them whenever he could. There was still a line of travelers waiting to use the transporters, so Alec had plenty of time to worry while he waited.
Mm-hmm. He's not at some table.
Yeah.
Going to be waited.
Yeah.
By a waiter.
Yeah. How do they know what I look like before I get into one of those things, he thought. What if I go in looking all normal and then come out the other end looking like a Zocmo? The lion slowly moved forward. It was nearly his turn to use the device.
Hey, Truman. What's a Zocmo?
It's another species of alien. Just let your brain imagine.
All right. I'm picturing the same thing every time.
Okay. Well, Zocmos are pretty ugly.
Okay.
That was why he was comparing himself.
I can guess.
What if they get me and my luggage mixed up? What would happen if my skull and my socks get mixed up during the transportation? That would make the flight to Homeworld very uncomfortable. Droplets of sweat were forming on his brow as he stood in line. Why didn't I take off this damn jacket? Alec nearly decided to remove the leather jacket, but it was too late. It was finally his turn to use the transporter. Before him stood a large metal tube. There was a whooshing noise as it shot a traveler's energy into the air. Alec gulped as the door slid open. There was a sickening bing bong. That sounded. There was a sickening bing bong sound that played. That's how I wrote it. The light inside the tube was overly bright. Alec squinted as he walked into the device. The door slid closed and locked behind him.
Water.
Oh, I just love water. Please dock your collar. Alec pulled the device out of his pocket and set it in the inlay. As it read Alec's information, a message began playing over some small speakers. The Loven Prime Interstation Transporters are fitted with the most up-to-date matter-shifting technology. Oh great, it's so safe that they have to give us a safety briefing. Alec rolled his eyes. Please stand in the center of the transporter with all limbs, antennae, tentacles, and any other extremities calmly at your sides. For any questions, concerns, or medical problems that result from the transportation procedure, please contact the manufacturer at 1-975-389-001, 736-5619, 1.
Please don't.
583306.
Please don't try to contact any part of that number, everyone.
A small message hovered over his collar that read, Information read, please remove device. Alex snatched his collar and tossed it in his pocket. Quickly, he grabbed his luggage from the floor and stood rigid, holding his breath. He could hear the mechanisms firing up. 3 rings of light rose from the ground, encompassing Alec. They whizzed around him like hula hoops, moving up and down as they scanned him down to the atomic level. All other light in the tube dimmed to blackness. There was pressure on Alec's inner ear. There was a pressure on Alec's inner ear that was building and building. He felt his skin turn clammy, and all the hair on his arms stood at attention. The rings were now spinning at an immense speed. Alec's stomach churned. Why did I eat such a huge meal? Could a transporter also transport vomit, he thought. Suddenly the rings vanished. Everything fell silent. Alec was standing in a darkness blacker than deep space. Thank you for using the Loven Prime interstation transports, said the small speakers. In a smaller voice, the speakers also said, Loven Prime spaceport is not liable for any damages to personal property or bodily injuries.
Oh, jeez.
Excuse me, what was that? Alec questioned aloud, but it was too late. Alec blinked out of the small tube in a flash of light.
Oh man, that's horrifying.
The nice thing about Loven Prime's transporters is that they transport travelers directly to their assigned seats aboard their flight vessel. Alec emitted a panicked yelp as he emerged from his transporter journey. His head was spinning, and his knuckles were white from gripping the armrests of the chair so tightly. After a few minutes of intense fear, he finally opened his eyes to survey himself. He patted down his whole body, making sure nothing got swapped. Nothing had. The passenger in the seat next to him could obviously see that Alec was distressed, so he made some small talk. Those transporters are a doozy, aren't they? He clicked. Oh yeah, sighed Alec. He wiped the sweat off his brow. His jacket was definitely too hot, but he couldn't take it off now. All his luggage has been transported to a compartment in another part of the flight vessel. How was lunch? Chuckled Alec's seatmate. All right, I guess. He was still trying to catch his breath. Nothing too special. The meat was a little bitter. With sudden clarity, Alex snapped his head to look at the figure in the seat next to him. It was the server from earlier, except now he was wearing different clothes. He had on a different hat and a long trench coat that looked a few sizes too small for his chitinous body. Sorry to hear that, man. I've been a little too busy to eat today. The bugman winked one of his 4 eyes at Alec. Remember what I told you earlier, guy. Just act natural. With that remark, he pulled his hat down over his eyes and crossed his arms behind his head. Within moments, his breathing had slowed down, and it was obvious that he had fallen asleep. Alec sat dumbfounded. What a small world, Alec thought as he fastened his seatbelt. Standard pre-flight procedures began. God, words are hard to say.
I know, man. I wish to drink more water before I told my story.
The stewardess said their safety speeches in about a dozen languages, and there was a video about hull breaches and radiation leaks. Alec didn't really pay attention. He just stared out the window. From his seat, he could see the mended part of the spaceport from the explosive episode earlier. It wasn't too long before the space vessel taxied out of its loading position. Alec could feel the engines ignite. The whole vessel rattled momentarily as it thrusted to near light speed. Finally, Alec was headed to homeworld. He could relax. After a while, Alec's seatmate stirred from his nap. As he rubbed his eyes, he turned to Alec. Hey, man, how long have we been traveling? He asked with a yawn. Alex checked his collar. About 4.5 cycles, he answered nonchalantly. Yeah. Great. Just great. Alec's seatmate grinned. Or at least Alec thought it was a grin. Mandibles don't smile easily. Listen, pal. The bugman began shifting around in his seat. It looked like he was about to stand up. I've got some, business to take care of. Hold my stuff. He tossed his hat and jacket at Alec, and then proceeded to make his way toward the front of the vessel. From his seat, Alec watched as the man pushed past a stewardess and entered the cockpit. There was an audible scuffle behind the metal door. The intercom ringed, making quite a few passengers grab their various forms of ears. Sup, y'all? Alec knew the voice belonged to his seatmate. Sorry to break this to you, but your captains are total jerks. I asked them for one favor, and they refused. All the passengers looked at each other for reassurance. I told them I just wanted to borrow this vessel to go to the fugitive planet of New Rodinia. but they refused.
Sounds like Beetlejuice.
It kind of does. So, I just crushed their windpipes and kicked them out of their captain seats, which are super comfortable, by the way. A small haglarb sitting behind Alec began crying. I'm gonna be your new captain, and you can call me Captain Draconis.
Oh, snap.
If anyone has a problem with me steering this vessel to our new destination, feel free to come up here and tell me about it. I've got a laser rifle that will happily listen to your complaints.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and thank you for traveling with Loven Prime. Sigma Draconis cackled with laughter as he hung up the intercom. Typical, remarked Alec as he sadly looked out the window. God, I hate traveling.
Oh, that's great. That's kind of it's those.
Maybe I made Sigma Draconis sound like Beetlejuice because he was a bug man.
Yeah, because he was a Beetleman.
But yeah, there we go.
That,
First sci-fi story.
That was pretty good. That was pretty great. I'll be happy to start writing sci-fi stories again next time.
Yeah, I like doing this. I think I'll give you another shot sometime in the future at writing another fantasy story, an actual fantasy story.
Because
I feel like we told people, we do fantasy sci-fi, and then we're cheating them out of that deal when somebody only does half fantasy.
Hey, listen. You can do fantasy whenever you want. I'll do fantasy whenever I want, which is never. I did it fantasy as fantasy as it gets. That's the best I can do. In your dreams will I be writing fantasy. In fact, you might even say that it'll be a fantasy for you to fantasize about me writing fantasy stories that are really all that fantastic, because I won't.
Yeah.
Fantastical.
Well, guys, hope you guys enjoyed our stories. We really like doing these episodes. I guess we're going to wrap it up right now, because there's not much else to say.
Yep.
You guys, check us out on Facebook. Check us out on the Twitter.
YouTube.
You're on YouTube, hit subscribe. Maybe throw us a like if you liked it. I liked it.
I liked it too.
If you guys want to write your own story, or you have any other ideas or suggestions,
seriously though,
send us an email.
Okay, all seriousness. Somebody wants to write a story, and chances are we probably know you because we only got listen, we have 15 subscribers on YouTube. We have 25 likes on Facebook. What's up with that? Mm-hmm. Right? You all should be subscribed to us on YouTube.
Spread the word.
You freaking you right now who's listening to this is on Facebook.
Yeah, I see you.
We can see you through our monitors. We're watching you watching the stories, watching us telling these stories, watching you watching us. Anyway, you should probably subscribe to us on YouTube because we really want to have a big number so we can brag to our friends. So what are you doing?
Oh, you make it sound like subscribe whores.
Yeah, I know. I'm
subscribe whores for subscribe whores.
Gradually declining into it. Just okay, please, everybody. Seriously, where's my money?
Yeah, guys, spread the word. Because, we're going to do the show whether or not, but we would like there to be a good audience.
We want an income. I'm just kidding.
No, we just want to spread our good times.
Good times.
All right, so guys, I was going to say earlier, email chatmenshow@gmail.com. That's all I got.
Oh,
all the information's in the description.
Here's another thing. Here's another thing that I have.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
You guys are the reason why. Not really. We just do this for our own personal enjoyment.
Can we wrap this up? It is really warm in here.
It is really warm. We need to turn on that AC.
Well, we got to finish this episode before we can do that.
That's right. I don't want to.
So, guys, we will see you in the upcoming weeks.
Bye.
And in your dreams.
Bye. In your fantasies. Bye. Also science. Goodbye.
All right, guys. Bye.
Clint cried. That was how I was going to end it. I was going to end it with just Clint cried, and then I was just like, that was a good episode.
I thought you were going to say, that was a good episode, said a guy listening to the Chatmen. Something like that.
Maybe some other time.
Okay. It's definitely where I thought you were going with it. Okay.